Right now, let's talk about inflation because Rachel Reeves has been in the news. She went to China, she came back, she got 600 million quid, which isn't really an awful lot of money when you think about it in the scheme of things. But some good news, I suppose, for Rachel Reeves is inflation hasn't gone up, it's gone down, albeit by a very small matter of 0.1%, 2.6 now, down to 2.5. Let's talk to Professor Ashwin Kumar from the Institute for Public Policy Research, former economic advisor to Gordon Brown. Ashwin, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Some people were suggesting it might be a bad day for Rachel Reeves today, but I suppose she'll be thanking her lucky stars that it's gone in the downward direction.
I think what it signals is that we're sort of back to a more normal inflation environment. We had from in 22 and 23, we had an amazing spike in inflation. We had prices going up on average by 10% a year, food prices even more, 17, 20% a year at times. It felt like every time you went to the supermarket, more and more goods have been going up quite strongly. Whereas now food inflation is at 2%. Things will feel just a bit more normal. You go to the supermarket and you won't expect as many surprises as we were seeing a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So it does feel like it's a return to a more normal inflation picture.
Yeah. Is it though? Because I mean, this could be as well a blip, couldn't it? Because we've got very, very expensive energy prices right now, and I think electricity is at its highest cost ever. And when it got to this sort of level under Liz Truss, I think she was the one that introduced, sort of payments for people so that they could have, reduced bills rather. So you wonder whether this will last and whether it's just a kind of a low rate for the next foreseeable couple of months. How easy is it to predict that?
Well, we don't have any expectation that it's going to go up by that much. What's true about energy costs is that they are higher than they used to be, but at least they're not still going up. So we're not expecting even further price rises to a significant degree. And so that means some degree of comfort that food, that energy are not we're not expecting them to be going up very dramatically. We are still seeing a little bit of pressure on interest rates in the sense that interest rates are higher than they used to be, as people's mortgage deals come to an end, sometimes people have to remortgage at higher rates than before. So there's a little bit of pressure on housing costs in that way, but we're not in the position of a couple of years ago where inflation pressures were really quite extreme for all of us.
Yeah, you're a former economic advisor to Gordon Brown. What do you make of Rachel Reeves' situation so far? She's only been in 6 months. It's not been easy for her. The budget has been sort of roundly criticised by an awful lot of business groups, but she's still there. A lot of people predicting her demise. Hasn't happened yet. I mean, if you were advising her, what would you advise her to do?
Well, look, I think we're in a sort of shadow period with respect to the budget. The budget was at the end of October, but none of the measures that she announced kick in yet. They kick in at the beginning of April, and they're going to be twofold. On the one hand, you're going to have some higher taxes for employers to pay for public services. But on the other hand, all of that public services is actually going to be to the good of the economy. The government is going to be spending on improving public services and on investing in the future in a way that we haven't been doing for some years. And that investment, that expenditure will actually stimulate the economy, and customers will have just that little bit more money to spend with businesses. We don't yet know exactly what the balance will be between the higher taxes for employers versus the stimulus from that spending. But what we do know is that at the moment we've got the worries about the costs. People haven't yet felt the benefits. I think once we come to see some of that money being spent in the next financial year, actually people might start to appreciate some of the consequences.
But she's already talking about making cuts, though, isn't she?
Well, I think the global context is difficult, and I think Trump is a big part of this. There's a real worry in global markets about exactly what Trump will do. I mean, he's threatening 25% tariffs on Canada, his nearest neighbor. And part of the point about Trump is that in some sense he's a bit of a blowhard. He talks big, and what you don't know is what he'll actually deliver. And that creates uncertainty, and markets hate uncertainty.
Right, but that's why the markets are so volatile now, because there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding Rachel Reeves and what she's actually doing, because an awful lot of the monies that she said she would bring into the Treasury aren't coming in. The tax on farmers isn't likely to make much difference. The tax on VAT rising on private schools isn't likely to make much difference. And yet she's now talking about going after Whitehall and saying she needs to make more cuts there.
Well, look, and in a difficult global environment, you've got to be ready to make changes as the world changes. It is a difficult situation. She's doing the right thing, building relationships with other countries other than the US. We've got to be able to do deals with China, India, the EU, if we're going to kind of withstand the US actually taking a different approach over the next few years. But there is a lot of uncertainty, and so what she's got to do is to plan for the eventuality that things don't turn out as well as she would want.
But would you describe her budget as a successful one? 'Cause I don't think very many people have so far, so you could be a bit of an outlier there. You could make a name for yourself.
No, what I would say is we're in a sort of shadow period where none of the effects have happened. People have got worries about the downside, and they haven't yet seen the upside.
Right.
So
Yeah, but,
I think,
no, but never mind what people think. What do you think? And is it a successful budget?
well, I think the public spending will make a difference to public services themselves. And I think the thing that's really important is that we used to have rules that basically meant there was no public investment at all. From April, we will have the capacity to do some investment in the future. We'll be able to improve tech in health. We'll be able to we'll be able to invest in transport and other things that are going to grow the economy in the future. So I think that will definitely be of benefit.
But we're also wasting a lot of money on interest payments, aren't we? Because of the rise in the yields of the bonds, right?
Again, that's the global context. And
yeah, no, but it's still our money that's going down the drain.
It's still our money. And Rachel Reeves will need to kind of watch that carefully, but I'm sure she's very seized of that. But I don't think that we could have got away with letting public services continue to deteriorate even further. Otherwise, we would have had absolutely non-functioning health services, education, we would have had more and more teacher shortages.
Which we have.
We couldn't survive with that.
Well, yeah, but that's what the situation is currently. Has it improved since they've been in, has it?
Well, the budget is about the money that's going to be available from April. So we're all going to be watching to make sure that that money starts to improve public services. The budget said what the plans are. We've got to see the delivery from April onwards.
OK. Well, we'll come back and talk to you then and see if anything's changed. Good to talk to you. Ashwin Kumar, Professor at the Institute for Public Policy Research. I don't think he thinks the budget's any good. He just doesn't want to say so.